Hello, I'm Nicholas Peterson. I'm currently a senior at the University of Wisconsin River Falls studying computer science. This semester just flown by, and I'm pleased to bring you my final presentation for my senior seminar project involving 2D game development. So as stated in my introduction presentation, this project's life began in the summer of 2012 in the form of a game I created called Pong Blocks, which is essentially a mashup between Pong and Brick Breaker. I naturally wanted to build upon what I'd created, adding new features and learning new things in the process. So I decided to go with a top-down exploration game because I wanted to try something a little bit different from the arcadey style of the first game. I decided to develop on Linux and use open source tools and libraries, the ones listed below, because they allow for the creation of a game that can be more easily ported to multiple alternate platforms as opposed to if I was developing on Windows. And the other reason was that there's a wealth of both online and offline documentation on the internet and people willing to help answer your questions. So, what have I accomplished? Well, here are some of the more significant features. One of the most noticeable features right off the bat is the terrain generator. It has the ability to generate multiple islands, and recently the ability to generate a simple room. Just pretend that these gray boxes in here are something more interesting, like say furniture. um, but anyway, uh, there are many other features that I would consider major, but aren't quite as visible to the player per se, such as the view and scene system that handles the updating and the rendering of entities within the correct scene. Um, Along with this is also the ability to effectively transport player entities to different scenes. For example, when entering a room or when leaving a room, you're teleported. Something noticeable to anyone using an Xbox 360 controller is that the character has 360 degrees of movement with the use of an analog stick, one of the analog sticks. In order to have the player characters and other entities stand behind each other, I also had to um, implement render sorting. Otherwise, things would just look weird. Um, I also worked on some other things like getting full screen to work nicely on different resolution monitors by means of letterboxing and this is other things like collision detection with the terrain and um, another minor feature, but that's very visible to the user is the addition of a start screen, so you can choose between uh, playing the Pong game or playing the island demo. So here I have some screenshots showing off how the game currently looks, and a few zoomed out shots of some 150 by 150 tile world maps. And below those there are some more examples of what different rooms can look like. Also note in the pictures on the right that the generator now has the ability to create small patches of trees and place entrances to rooms. Now, I do understand that static images of an interactive media may not be very interesting as actually experiencing the game. So for that reason, I plan to upload a demo video that will go a little bit more in depth, have some more detail about a few things, and will also show some gameplay footage. So for anybody interested in that, be aware I'm working on that soon. Now I'm going to talk about some of the problems I ran into and what I plan to do for the future. I really didn't run into any major deal-breaking problems. Uh, During development, some things took a little bit longer than I originally planned. Fortunately, I had made provision uh, for that. While working on the project, I wasn't in a vacuum, so there were other courses that at times needed higher priority, and so I had to work on those. Luckily, only one desired feature was removed, in order to keep everything on schedule, and that was the animation system. I spent a good deal of time researching how to best implement animations, writing down my own ideas of how I could tackle the problem, and I ended up with some pretty nicely fleshed out ideas. But I had to choose uh, to either implement them or to implement entity teleporting, and I felt entity teleporting was more important. Um, and I didn't really I didn't want I couldn't really do both because then I'd end up like hastily shoving things together, and uh, all that would end up happening is I'd have to go back in the future and fix what I'd broken. So fix a horrible hack job. So I didn't want to do that. In the future, I do plan to continue working on this project with any of my time that is not allotted to other things. These features listed below, simulating multiple scenes at once, rendering multiple character views for local multiplayer, these are all things that are currently possible with what I've written, but are not being fully utilized because for now I only have one player character. Um, but even so, one of the biggest things I'd like to work on in the future, though, is more features directly at gameplay. Um, this semester was mostly putting in the plumbing, connecting up all the internal stuff. Um, so I really didn't get to the fun stuff yet. But if you need those pipes if you want to have a nice hot bath, so plumbing is important. So yeah, I'd like to give special thanks to all of the open source projects listed below whose tools made my development possible. Also to the University of Wisconsin River Falls, professors, and my fellow classmates for just making the last couple years very pleasant and full of opportunity. So, and thank you, viewer, for watching this video. Uh, Take care. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments or ask me in class. Farewell.